BMW has joined the facelift bandwagon with this, the updated X3. Now it follows its two main rivals, the Audi Q5 and the Volvo XC60, and with them you had to look a lot closer to see what all is new. On this though, the changes are a lot more apparent. Starting at the front, the highlight on any BMW is of course the grille, and on this updated version it has grown in size. But if you look closer, it has also gotten angular. You have these nice sharp looking slats right here, finished in brushed metal. It looks very good. Inside you have the Airstream technology, which means it opens and closes depending on the engine temperature, and overall the size is not uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like it's awkward, doesn't feel like that polarizing X7, and it still feels like it belongs on this car. So that is a big win. Then the next update are of course the headlamps. You have adaptive LED headlamps, but the design again is sharper, sleeker. You have these nice elements for the DRLs and it looks very plush and modern. But because this is an M Sport model, you also have sporty bumpers. If you look down, plenty of angles, plenty of lines. You get the air curtain here as well, so it opens and closes automatically. You also have some air ducts right here to cut through the air and help with airflow. And overall, it is a very recognizable front end, typical of a BMW, sporty and aggressive. And I think that with the X3 goes perfect. The character is very much there. But a special mention must also be made to the paint. It's called Brooklyn Grey, and it is definitely something you should look at in person. Because if you're the type that doesn't mind being a bit bold and out there, this will definitely be up your alley. Over to the side, what jump at you are the massive 20-inch wheels. They look absolutely smashing, especially with this M Sport kit. But the thing with the wheels is that you had to pre-book the X3 to get them as standard. If you want them now, you're gonna have to pay a little bit extra or live with the standard 19-inch wheel. Now they look very tempting, they look fantastic in terms of proportions, they fill out the wheel arches really well. But the thing is, a car that is in this segment where the focus is a lot on comfort and ride quality, a low profile tire is a bit of a challenge. How that translates on the road is something we're going to find out soon. But overall, the stance of the X3 is very much similar to the older car. The proportions are the same. There has been no change to the dimensions. So the wheelbase still the same, length still the same. But since this is an M Sport, you get some M Sport bits. Of course, you get the badgings, you get some black elements. So you have this window frame that is also blacked out. You have the roof rails that are also blacked out. And overall, it is very much recognizable from the side as an X3. The front and rear are the more radical changes. Now at the rear is also where the X3 shines through, and a lot of that has to do with these LED tail lamps. They are sharp, they are dynamic, and they look fantastic, especially this 3D treatment that it gets. It really pops. When the sun goes down, they really come into their own. It is an absolute treat to look at them at night. But low down you also have the M Sport bumper, which means you get a lot of sporty treatment. They are squared off right here. You also have a diffuser. Not sure how much it affects performance, but it does look good. And speaking of looking good, how can you miss the massive chrome exhaust tips? Now while the earlier car gets circular ones, this one gets two blocks that look fantastic, and they are actually connected to the exhaust system. They are not add-ons that pretend to be exhaust tips. They are the real deal. So those are the changes on the outside of the X3, but there have also been revisions on the inside as well. So let's quickly hop in and see what all has changed. Now the interior of the updated X3 is much like the exterior. The changes are very easy to spot. And the first thing you notice is the updated dashboard layout. Now the theme is very much BMW. You've seen this design before, but it has been modernized for the X3. The first thing you notice, of course, is the steering wheel. Now because this is an M Sport, you get the 3-spoke M steering, these lovely thumb rests, nice and chunky, wrapped in leather. Inside you have the 12.3-inch instrument cluster, fully digital, and while it is more or less the same as the predecessor, it has updated graphics. Not a big change, but it still is worthy of a mention. And on the side you have this lovely free-floating 12.3-inch touchscreen, and the resolution is something that is absolutely fantastic. The touchscreen gets a host of functions and interesting bits like gesture control and a cool looking 360-degree camera that is vibrant and clear. Low down, the gear shifter now has a new design and the switch gear around it has been reorganized as well. Then you have these seats, really nice and comfy, broad, you have a lovely amount of support all around, the cushioning is great as well, but it still misses out on ventilation. I mean, in a car in this segment right now, you definitely expect those things to come down. But with the X3, you don't get that. You also don't get wireless charging, which again is an optional extra. So these are the small things that you wish were there. Since this is an upgrade, they could have maybe included all that, but they haven't. However, something that you will like, of course, panoramic sunroof, and like I said, no dimensional change, so space in the cabin is plenty. It is nice and wide, it is roomy, and it definitely feels half a size bigger than it feels on the outside. It genuinely is a lovely cabin, and quality overall and build is absolutely fantastic. Now about the back seat, there is no change to the dimension, so legroom is not going to be too different, headroom is going to be the same as well. But since it's been a while that we've sat in the X3, let's quickly hop in and see what's what. Now in the back seat of the X3, things aren't too bad because as you can see, this driving seat is set in my position. I am over 6 feet and I still have some room for my knees. They aren't really grazing. Now I've been in some really fancy cars where my knees just don't have the space, so this is quite reassuring. There's also a decent amount of space under the seat to keep my feet in, and that again makes the overall seating that much more comfortable. But what is a big game changer is of course the panoramic sunroof. It just opens up the cabin so much, brings in a lot of light and air, and it feels really plush as well. In terms of equipment, you get 3-zone climate control. So back here, you have your own climate control. Of course, you've got AC vents as well and 2 Type-C USB ports. This armrest is also nice and comfortable, and the seat is at a fantastic recline angle. It's not too upright, but it's not too laid back as well. You can definitely spend a lot of hours in this, provided you can handle that ride quality thanks to the 20-inch wheels. But overall, I think it's a very nice place to be. Of course, you've got the Harman Kardon system like I mentioned earlier, and back here you also have sun blinds. On a hot day, these are going to be a complete savior. Now the BMW X3 has always been the go-to choice for someone who likes to drive. And with this update, that hasn't changed because under the bonnet, you still get the same 2-litre, 252 horsepower turbo petrol engine mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Now in terms of performance, it really is quite sprightly. The engine has a lot of punch as well, but it is the refinement that you would appreciate more because like I said, on a car like this, comfort and ride quality and those sort of luxury bits are a bit more high up on the priority list. Hence the 2-litre engine, while quick and fun, is also superbly refined and smooth. Power delivery is linear and there is more than sufficient grunt for quick overtakes on the highway. The 8-speed torque converter gearbox is also well calibrated and highway cruising at triple-digit speeds is effortless. However, the ride quality is also something that owners value a lot more, even though this is a BMW. And on this X3, it is a bit of an issue, largely due to these massive 20-inch wheels. On the standard 19-inch versions, the ride won't be as firm, but since this is on those big 20-inch wheels, you do feel every bump and crack in the road. And especially if you put it in sport, because the X3 also has adaptive dampers. And what that means is that you can adjust the suspension settings. In comfort, it is a bit soft, and in sport, it is nice and firm. Perfect for when you have a road like this, nice tight corners, lovely winding sections. But when you're in the city, when you have those low speed bumps, when you have those broken patches of tarmac, you will sort of struggle. So for those who pre-booked the X3 and got this 20-inch wheel option, you will have to adjust a bit with the ride quality. But overall, the refinement from the engine is fantastic. The cabin is well insulated, it is quiet and hushed in here, and performance, like I said, is plenty. Put your foot down and the engine races ahead. And it is a proper BMW to drive. Handling is another area where the X3 impresses thanks to the rear-biased xDrive system and the well-mannered cornering. The grip levels are excellent and the steering is consistent as well. You can of course also change the drive modes as well. You have an individual setting that lets you alter specific characteristics of the car. So you can have the steering in sport, you can have the engine in sport as well, you can have the suspension in comfort and so on, and the transmission as well at the most responsive. So it really is a lot of car for those who like to drive. While the superb driving dynamics was the biggest draw with the older X3, this modernized update has given it a lot more cred and appeal. It looks sharp, gets useful tech and features on the inside, and while the ride quality is a bit firm, it helps the X3 retain the famous BMW driving prowess. The build quality is superb, the engine has enough poke, and with prices ranging between 59.9 lakh rupees to 65.9 lakh rupees, it is competitive as well. So for those who spend more time behind the wheel than in the backseat, want an SUV that drives well, but also want all the modern luxury features, the facelifted X3 is just about perfect.